Hey, friends. Welcome back to Redefining Her Game. I'm so glad you pressed play today. But before we dive in, let me just say I don't take it lightly that you're here. I know your life is full. You've got people who need you, lists a mile long, and probably a dozen things you could be doing right now. And yet, you're here in this moment with me. And that matters. Today's episode is all about joy. And I don't mean the kind that looks perfect on Instagram, the beach vacations, the shiny promotions, the picture perfect milestones. I'm talking about the kind of joy that shows up in the middle of messy kitchens and busy schedules, late nights, super early mornings, the kind that sneaks in during the in between moments. But let me be honest with you, joy hasn't always been easy for me. There were seasons where I didn't even look for it. Like I was too focused on being productive or too weighed down by what wasn't working, too distracted, comparing myself and joy. It felt like something reserved for other people. Like, have you ever felt that way? Like joy is something that happens to other people, but it's always just a little out of reach for you. Like, I remember dropping my daughter off at college not long ago. My heart was torn in two, right? Like, proud of her, grieving this new stage, questioning myself. And on the drive home, I wasn't looking for joy. I was just trying not to cry. And along the road, I don't know, I just looked up and it was that golden hour way, right? I actually just saw the sky and I was like, wow, everything's going to be okay. It wasn't a party or a vacation, but in that pause, I felt joy. Simple, quiet, grounding joy. And it reminded me joy isn't something we have to chase. Sometimes it's right there, waiting for us to just choose it. That's what I want to talk to you about today. Because we live in a world that makes it so easy to miss joy. We're rushed, we're distracted, we're scrolling through highlight reels. We're running a race we didn't even want to win. And in all that noise, we forget to look up. But here's the truth, joy isn't hiding. It's in the little things. It's in our breath. It's in the ways we choose to create it and share it. It's in the ripple effect we create when we allow joy to be proof for others who might be struggling to find their own. So, in this conversation, we're going to explore how to notice joy in the little things, how to breathe and make space for it, how to create joy of our own instead of waiting for it to arrive, and how to share it in a way that inspires other women. And because we always keep it real here, we're also going to talk about how comparison robs us of joy. Not owning our lane, not running our race can keep us so distracted that we miss the joy right in front of us. My hope is that by the end of this episode, you'll feel lighter. You'll feel encouraged. And maybe you'll start noticing joy in places you didn't expect. So grab your coffee, get cozy. Let's dive into this together. So, you know what I realized? Joy rarely comes with fireworks. Doesn't usually announce itself with big dramatic music. Most of the time, it slips quietly, tucked into the corners of our everyday lives. And yet, those are often the moments we blow right past. So, last week, my youngest daughter turned 16. And of course, I was in full mom mode, rushing to blow up balloons to sneak in her room, making sure the roses I'd bought were in a vase on the counter, double checking that every little detail was perfect before she woke up. My mind was buzzing with tasks, but then I caught myself. Why am I in this frantic mood when this moment is supposed to be about her? So I stopped. Just for about 30 seconds or so. And I stood there. I looked at the balloons, the flowers, the love behind it all, and I realized this wasn't just another task to check off my list. This was a celebration, a moment of pure joy that had slipped in while I wasn't paying attention. And it made me wonder, how often do we miss joy because we're treating it like another item on our to do list? Like, how often do we rush past the good because we're already thinking what's next? Joy doesn't always live in the big, shiny moments. More often, it's in the little things. That amazing first sip of coffee in the morning, the way the light filters through your window, the sound of one of your kids or all of them laughing from the other room, the song that comes on the radio that instantly takes you back. But here's the challenge: joy doesn't chase us down. We have to notice it. We have to pause long enough to let it land. I think about it like this: imagine joy as little sparkles of confetti scattered all around you. They're there every day, but if you're rushing, head down, eyes on the next thing, you'll never see it. You've got to slow down, look up, and notice. And listen, I get it. Slowing down feels impossible some days. We're busy, we're stretched thin. But the irony is, noticing joy doesn't always take more time, it gives us more. It stretches the moment we already have. One practice that helps me is asking myself at the end of the day, where did I see joy today? Sometimes the answer is small. The coffee was hot and perfect, or the sun peeked out after a rainy morning, or my daughter gave me an extra long hug. When I started doing this, something shifted. And I realized joy was never gone. It was always there. I was just moving too fast to notice. So let me ask you, friend, when was the last time you noticed joy in something small? Maybe it was today. You didn't even name it as joy. You just thought, oh, that feels good. That's it. That's joy. The truth is, the little joys aren't little. They're like the building blocks of a life that feels alive. They remind us that even in hard seasons, there is still light breaking through cracks. So here's my first encouragement to you today. Don't wait for joy to find you. Go looking for it. In the laughter, in the flowers, in the way balloons fill a room, because joy doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It just has to be noticed. You know what I've noticed? Joy doesn't usually show up when I'm rushing. When I'm running late, juggling too many things, or mentally sprinting 3 steps ahead, joy feels impossible to reach. It's like joy is standing on the sidewalk waving at me, but I'm driving by too fast to even notice. And I'll be real with you, I used to thrive on busyness, or at least I thought I did. My calendar was full, my lists were endless, and I told myself that being productive was the same thing as being fulfilled. But here's the secret: productivity isn't the same as joy. In fact, the busier I became, the less joy I felt. I didn't even notice it at first. I just felt this low hum of exhaustion. You know what I'm talking about? Like where you're running on autopilot, always doing, but never being. It's almost like you're living your life, but not experiencing it. Like one morning, my body forced me to stop. I had been pushing myself so hard that I woke up and thought, I can't keep this pace up anymore. I remember laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and for the first time in weeks, I just breathed. Not shallow, stressed out breaths, but slow, deep ones. And in that moment, I felt something like I hadn't felt in a long time, and it was peace. Yeah, that's when it clicked. Joy needs space. Joy doesn't live in jam-packed schedules or constant rushing. It doesn't thrive in noise and clutter. It shows up in the stillness, in the quiet, in the space we create when we stop just long enough to notice it. And that doesn't mean you have to cancel everything on your calendar or take a week off to go sit on a beach. Although, I would never say no to a week off sitting on a beach, but sometimes joy just asks for 2 minutes. For me, it looks like sitting outside with a cup of coffee before the house wakes up. Just me, coffee, morning air. No phone, no email, no noise. It looks like letting myself sit in the car for a minute after I parked instead of rushing inside. Maybe it's letting the song finish out before I get out or just noticing the quiet. It looks like pausing in the middle of the day and saying, okay, just breathe. One slow inhale, one slow exhale. Like, I'll never forget one particular morning I had just dropped my youngest daughter off at school, and normally I would have rushed home, started working, and launched right into the next thing. But that day, something in me said, just stop for a second. So I did. I sat in the driveway. Car still running, and I looked around. The sun was shining through the trees in this golden kind of way. And as our weather starts to shift here, the air is crisp. And I could hear the sound of birds layered over the hum of the neighborhood waking up. Nothing extraordinary was happening, and yet it felt extraordinary because I was still enough to notice it. Friend, joy doesn't demand much of us. It just asks for our attention. So here's what I wanted to do with you right now. Wherever you are, driving, walking, cooking, sitting, just pause for a second. Put down the tension you're carrying and take one deep breath. Hold it for a moment and exhale. Do you feel the tiny shift? That's the beginning of joy. That's presence. That's making space. So let me ask you, where in your life could you create just a little more space for joy? Maybe it's choosing not to scroll on your phone first thing in the morning. Maybe it's lighting a candle before dinner and just enjoying it. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to sit in silence, even for 2 minutes. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be dramatic. Joy doesn't live in the rush. It lives in the pause. And sometimes the bravest, most radical thing we can do is stop and breathe and let joy catch up to us. And joy isn't only something we wait for, it's something we can create. For so long, I treated joy like luck. If it happened to show up, I'd savor it. But if not, I told myself, well, maybe next time. Maybe when things slow down. Maybe when life looks different. I thought joy was this magical thing that had to arrive on its own. But the truth is, we have more power than we realize to create joy right where we are. And here's the best part. It doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes creating joy is as simple as turning on your favorite playlist and letting yourself dance in the kitchen while you cook. Just moving because it feels good. Sometimes it's baking cookies, not because it's someone's birthday or holiday, just because you love the smell of them filling the house. Sometimes it's deciding to call a friend and laugh at something ridiculous, even if you don't have the time. Like one Friday night, not long ago, the house was quiet. Everyone had plans. My kids were out. My husband was busy, and it was just me. And at first, I felt like lonely. Like old me would have grabbed my phone, scrolled through social media, and probably ended the night feeling worse because I'd be comparing my boring night to someone else's glamorous one. But instead, I paused and thought, what if I created the night for me instead? So I lit a candle. I put on songs that I like to listen to, the ones that feel like a hug. I made myself dinner, curled up with a book. It wasn't loud, it wasn't extravagant, but it was joyful to me because I chose it. That's the thing about creating joy. We don't have to wait for life to hand it to us. We can create it in the small, ordinary moments we already have. And the ripple effect of creating joy is so real. When I choose to laugh at myself instead of snapping, my whole family feels the difference. When I hum a tune or smile at strangers at the grocery store, I notice people smile back. Joy is contagious. It shifts the atmosphere, even when it's small. So here's what I want you to think about. What if you gave yourself permission this week to create joy? Not because everything is perfect, but because you're allowed to feel good in the middle of the mess. Maybe that looks like buying yourself flowers and putting them where you'll see them all day. Singing out loud in the car instead of worrying what the driver next to you thinks. taking yourself out for coffee and sitting without your phone for a few minutes, starting a gratitude list, not for anyone else, not as homework, just because it feels good to notice the little things. Even something silly like watching an old movie you loved as a kid. Joy doesn't have to be grand to be real. Doesn't need permission or perfect timing. It can be as small as a spark. And when you choose it, it lights something up in you. And here's the gift. When you create joy for yourself, it doesn't just stay with you, it spills out. The people around you feel it too. Your kids, your partner, your friends, even strangers. It's like you carry it with you without even trying. You're giving others permission to look for joy in their lives too. So don't wait for joy to show up at your door. Don't wait for the next vacation or milestone. Plant it, create it, and watch how those small moments grow into something bigger. And here's one of my favorite things about joy. It multiplies when we share it. Think about the last time you were with your girlfriends and someone started laughing, that deep, can't catch your breath kind of laugh. What happened? You were all laughing. That's the magic of joy. You can't help but join in. It spills out everywhere. It doesn't stay contained in one person, and sometimes that shared joy is exactly what someone else needs. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a hard season, maybe even carrying something heavy that no one else could see. And then someone around me radiated joy, like watching a little kid in the store absolutely delighted by a balloon, or a friend talking about a new project they're proud of, or my daughter singing in her room without a care in the world. And even though I wasn't feeling joyful in the moment, their joy reminded me that there's something still possible, something better. That's why I believe so strongly that joy isn't something we should keep to ourselves. We need to share it out loud in the little ways, even when it feels small, because we never know who needs the proof. And being proof doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. In fact, it's the opposite. Being proof is saying, hey, life is really freaking messy, but there's still beauty here. There's still something worth smiling about. Right? I mean, we don't have to fix everything for everyone. We can just send them a funny video clip that made us laugh, and maybe it makes them smile. Again, we're not solving their problems, but we're just reminding them that joy hasn't completely disappeared. It doesn't have to be profound. Sometimes it's as simple as sending the meme, telling the story, posting the silly photo, or letting someone see the moment that made you smile. And here's the thing. When we let ourselves share joy, we give permission for others to look for it too. Think about it. When you see another woman light up over something in her life, it sparks something in you. It whispers. That's what I mean when we can be proof. Proof that joy still exists in a world that feels heavy sometimes. Proof that peace is possible even when life isn't perfect. Proof that celebration doesn't require everything to be shiny. It can happen in the middle of dishes, bills, and carpool lines. So let me ask you, how can you share your joy this week? Maybe it's texting a friend something funny. Maybe it's posting about the small things that made your day brighter instead of only sharing the big milestones. Maybe it's telling your kids, hey, this moment right here makes me happy. So they learn that joy is something you can name. Because when we share our joy, we multiply it. And in doing that, we become living, breathing reminders for each other. Right? Reminders that joy isn't gone. Reminders that joy is worth looking for. Reminders that even the smallest sparks of joy can light up the dark for someone else. And maybe, just maybe, your small act of sharing joy will be the exact proof another woman needs to keep going. All right, friends, we've talked about noticing joy, creating it, and sharing it. But now we need to get real about one of the biggest things that steals it away: comparison. You know that old saying, comparison is the thief of joy? I used to think it was just a cute quote, but now I know it's the truth. Here's what happens. You wake up feeling pretty good, right? Maybe you've had your coffee, maybe you went for a walk, maybe you're even proud of yourself for something you accomplished. You're feeling confident, maybe even joyful. And then you scroll, or you overhear something, or you see someone else in her lane, someone else running faster, posting wins, glowing in her highlight reel, and you just like that, your joy evaporates. I've lived this so many times. I'll be so proud of myself for hitting publish on a new podcast episode or showing up for my goals. And then I'll glance sideways and suddenly I'm looking at someone else's numbers, their perfectly curated content, their success stories. And instead of celebrating my own progress, I start to shrink. In my head, I'm thinking, am I behind? Am I enough? Should I be doing more? And there goes the joy I had 5 minutes ago. Can you relate? Like the truth is, comparison doesn't just steal joy, it blinds us to it. When we're staring into someone else's lane, we can't see the beauty in our own. We miss the flowers blooming under our feet because we're so fixated on theirs. It's like running a race and constantly looking sideways. Not only will you miss your stride, you might stumble. You might lose momentum. You might even stop running altogether, not because your race doesn't matter, but because you got distracted by theirs. And here's the really sneaky part. Comparison often shows up in disguise. It doesn't always sound like they're better than me. Sometimes it's quieter. Sometimes it's they're more put together. I need to try harder. Their kids are thriving. Why am I struggling with this? Did I not help them enough? Do you hear the common thread? Every single one of those thoughts steals our joy before we've had a chance to enjoy what's ours. But here's what I want you to know. Their joy is not your loss. Their success does not mean your life is failing. If anything, their joy is proof that good things are possible, proof the door is open, proof that maybe it's closer than you think. Friend, your lane has joy waiting in it, but you'll never see it if you're glued to theirs. So the next time you feel comparison creeping in, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what's one joy in my life right now that I'm overlooking? What's one thing I've accomplished that I can actually celebrate today? And here's the big one. What if their joy is just proof that mine is possible too? Because joy doesn't live sideways. It lives right here, in your pace, in your race, in your lane. And I promise you, there's enough joy for all of us. Okay, so we've talked about noticing joy in the little things, making space for it, creating it, sharing it, protecting it from comparison. But now let's land this conversation with something really practical. How do we hold on to joy in our real everyday lives? Because joy can be slippery. We feel it one moment and then it's gone. Life interrupts, the email dings, the kids fight, the bills come in, and suddenly the joy that felt so present just a minute ago feels like it vanished. So let's talk about some ways to not only find joy, but to keep it alive, like small practices that act as anchors, helping us come back to joy again and again. So one, like start a journal. I know you've probably heard about gratitude journals, and this is similar, but this little twist. At the end of the day, write down one thing, just one, that brought you joy. It doesn't matter if it's big or small. Maybe it's a good cup of coffee. Maybe it was laughing with your teenager in the car. Maybe it was a song you hadn't heard in years. When you start noticing and writing these things down, something shifts. Your brain begins scanning for joy throughout the day because it knows you're going to ask for it later. It's like training your mind to become a detective. Here's the fun part. After a month or 6 months, you can look back and see all the little breadcrumbs of joy you've collected. And suddenly, you realize your life has been sprinkled with joy all along. You just needed the reminder. 2, take a walk. Not workouts, not speed walks, joy walks. These are walks where the goal isn't steps or calories, it's noticing. Notice the way the air feels. Notice the flowers, the sky, the way the light changes at different times of day. Notice how your body feels as you move. I've started doing this on days when I felt completely drained, and I'm telling you, it changes me. Even if it's just 10 minutes, it pulls me back into my body, back into the present, and more often than not, I stumble into joy. Create joy rituals. Rituals are little habits that infuse ordinary life with something sacred. For me, it's lighting a candle when I sit down to journal, or playing music while I clean the kitchen so it feels less like a chore and more like a moment. For you, it might be drinking your tea from your favorite mug every morning, or wearing perfume even if you're not leaving the house. These rituals remind us that joy doesn't live in the big moments, it can live in the small, ordinary routines. And celebrate small wins. We're so good at downplaying ourselves, aren't we? Like we think wins have to be huge to matter, but friend, sometimes joy shows up when we choose to celebrate the small things. Did you finish the project at work? Celebrate it. Did you rest when your body needed? Celebrate it. Did you say no to something that wasn't right for you? Celebrate it. You don't need confetti cannons. Sometimes it's just pausing to say, that mattered. I did that and I'm proud. And share your joy. We talked about this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Joy multiplies when it's shared. Tell someone about the moment that made you smile. Post it, text it, say it out loud at dinner. Even if it feels small, you never know who needs the reminder that joy is still out there. And here's the thing. When you share joy, you anchor it more deeply in yourself too. You're not just noticing it, but you're owning it and passing it along. None of these practices are about pretending life is perfect. Joy isn't about ignoring the hard stuff. It's not about toxic positivity where you slap on a smile no matter what. It's about balance. It's about noticing the good alongside the hard, creating small sparks when life feels dark, and building rhythms that help us come back to joy again and again. So maybe this week you can pick just one of these to try. Start a journal, go on a walk, create a little ritual, celebrate a win, share something that made you smile, because joy doesn't have to be elusive. It doesn't have to be something you only feel once in a while. With intention and practice, it can be something woven into the fabric of your life. And that is how joy not only finds us, but stays with us. So as we wrap up today, here's what I want you to carry with you. Joy isn't hiding from you. It's not reserved for perfect people in perfect seasons. It's not something you have to wait until someday to feel. Joy is here. It's in the little things, that sip of coffee, the sound of laughter, sunlight through the window. It's in the pause, those deep breaths that bring you back to yourself. It's in the rituals, the small celebrations, the way you choose to create beauty in your everyday life. It's not selfish to want joy. It's not indulgent. It's necessary. Because when you allow yourself to express joy, you not only fill your own cup, you spill over into others. You become proof for others around you that joy is possible, even in the middle of the mess. I think how often we minimize joy. We tell ourselves it's not important, that we'll get to it later, that other things are more urgent. But if joy is the very thing that gives us the strength to keep going, what if joy is the fuel and not the fluff? So here's my challenge to you this week. Look for joy in the little things. Make space for it with your breath, your pauses, and your stillness. Create joy when you need it. Don't wait for it to just appear. Share your joy, because someone else may need your proof. And when comparison creeps in, gently remind yourself, her joy doesn't cancel mine. There's enough for all of us. I promise you, even if you try one of these things, you'll start to see joy differently. It'll become less of a fleeting feeling and more of a rhythm in your life. And I want to hear about it. I want to know where you're finding joy. So if something sparked joy for you this week, tell me all about it. Send me a message, share it in the comments, or text it to a friend. let's keep this conversation going because joy spreads fastest when we share it. And if today's episode gave you even a little spark, would you do me a favor? Share it with a friend who might need this reminder. Send it to your sister, your coworker, the woman in your life who's been running hard and maybe forgetting to notice the good stuff. Because the more of us who practice joy, the stronger that ripple becomes. And if you're new here, I'm so glad you found this space. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube or follow wherever you listen so you don't miss these weekly conversations. Because this isn't just a podcast, it's a community. A place where we're learning to redefine the game together, to live with more intention, more connection, and yes, more joy. All right, that's it for today. Keep breathing, keep noticing, keep creating. And never forget, you are worthy of joy. I'll see you next time.